Hello, good evening, and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep. It's Tuesday evening, and it's time for weekly current affairs, where we discuss important topics from the perspective of prelims. Because you would know, and I will reiterate, beginning September this year, we made few changes to our weekly webinars. Tuesdays will be focusing on the prelims, and the Thursdays webinars will be focusing on the mains examination. So without wasting time, let's get started and look at all the important topics which dominated the news in the past week. We'll get started with Raman Magsaysay Award. First up, what is the context? KK Shailaja, she was the health minister in Kerala. She belongs to the Communist Party of India, Marxist, CPIM. And she played one of the brilliant role in the fight, in Kerala's fight against COVID-19, as well as prior to COVID-19 against Nipah virus. Because of this reason, she was considered by the Raman Magsaysay Award Foundation Board of Trustees, which every year gives this award, Raman Magsaysay. She was considered by this board for this year's Magsaysay Award. But she was asked by her political party not to accept this award. Why? This Raman Magsaysay Award was conceptualized in the year 1957, and beginning 1958, the awards were given. But this award was conceptualized in the memory of Raman Magsaysay, who was the president of Philippines. And as the president of Philippines, he was considered to be anti-communist. That is why the Communist Party of India, Marxist, asked and requested KK Shailaja, who was the health minister in the Kerala government till last year, not to accept this award, which is in the honor of Raman Magsaysay, who is considered to be anti-communist. That's the context. But what all do you need to know when it comes to the prelims examination from this topic? This Raman Magsaysay Award is considered to be the premier and the highest honor of Asia. Highest honor of Asia, the most premier award in Asia, which is considered to be the Asian equivalent of the Nobel Prize. So Nobel Prize, its Asian equivalent is considered to be Raman Magsaysay Award. And it is given to individuals. These facts are very important, as well as organizations. So this award is not restricted only to individuals. This award every year can be given to organizations as well, who have shown greatness of spirit in rendering selfless service to the peoples of Asia. So this award every year is given at a function in Manila, which is the capital of Philippines, and it is given on 31st of August every year, which is considered to be the birthday of Raman Magsaysay, in whose memory this award has been conceptualized. So what is Raman Magsaysay Award? Every year on 31st of August, in the honor of Raman Magsaysay, the then president of the Philippines, this award is given to individuals or organizations who have shown greatness of spirit in giving selfless service to the peoples of Asia. That means even if there is a foreign organization, but it is rendering selfless service to the people of Asia, this organization can be considered for the Raman Magsaysay Award. And this award has been given to 344 individuals and organizations till date. So you might expect a question in the prelims examination. This award has been given to less than 100 people since inception. So you may not know the exact number of awardees, but at least you should know the ballpark number, which is 344. And every person or an individual or an organization which receives this Raman Magsaysay Award, it is given, or he or she is given, a certificate and a medallion. This is the medallion. On its face, you can see the face, the picture of Ramon Magsaysay, who was the president of Philippines. But let's delve more into the Ramon Magsaysay Award, can be important for your prelims examination. From 1958 till the year 2000, this award was given in 5 categories. So those individuals and organizations who have conducted or given selfless service in government service or public service or community leadership or journalism or peace or international understanding, in these categories from 1958 to 2000, this award was given. And in the year 2000, another category was added called emergent leadership. Now this becomes important, and I will tell you why. The year was 2000, a new category was introduced, Ramon Magsaysay Award in the field of emergent leadership. Now this award is given to individuals less than 40 years of age who have given selfless service to its own community, impacting social change or encouraging social change in their own community, but this leadership of this individual is yet to be recognized outside of this community. Long story short, 2000, another category was introduced, Ramon Magsaysay Award in emergent leadership. And every year it is given to individuals of 40 years of age or less than 40 years of age who have contributed to social change in their community. But this leadership is yet to be recognized outside of the community. For example, the year was 2016 when one Indian, Bezwada Wilson, he was given Ramon Magsaysay Award in emergent leadership. And Bezwada Wilson is now in the news as well. And that is why this category, emergent leadership, becomes important for your exam. Bezwada Wilson had established an organization known as Safai Karmachari Andolan, primarily dealing with those who are manual scavengers, who manually clean our dirt and the septic tanks and the manholes. It was for his contribution towards contributing to the social change of these manual scavengers, ensuring their rehabilitation, that Bezwada Wilson, who is now in the news, was awarded Ramon Magsaysay Award in the category of emergent leadership in the year 2016. But one more fact, starting 2009, this Ramon Magsaysay Award is not given in any category. That means now it is not restricted to these categories. It can be given in any field, any area. But Ramon Magsaysay Award in emergent leadership, this category continues. Which means this Ramon Magsaysay Award, which is given every year from 1958 till 2009, it was given in 6 categories. The 6th category was introduced in the year 2000. But in the year 2009, the categories were dismantled. Now it can be given in any category. There is no categorization, but one category has been retained, which is emergent leadership. And somebody who bags this Ramon Magsaysay Award in emergent leadership, they also receive a grant from Ford Foundation. Ford Foundation is a non-governmental organization, an international non-governmental organization. Whoever gets Ramon Magsaysay Award in emergent leadership, they also receive a grant from Ford Foundation. Clear? And there are many individuals in India who have bagged the Ramon Magsaysay Award. But you need to know who was the first one. Vinoba Bhave. Who was the last one, last Indian to receive this Ramon Magsaysay Award, or the most recent one? Ravish Kumar, a popular journalist who is associated with the NDTV, but not relevant for your exam. Apart from that, there are a number of individuals who have bagged this Ramon Magsaysay Award. Sometimes UPSC delves too deep into the facts. So you may also be asked, which of the following Indians have received Ramon Magsaysay or have not received Ramon Magsaysay? The first one was Vinoba Bhave. then we had Mother Teresa, then we have Verghese Kurian, then we had T.N. Seshan, the legendary Chief Election Commissioner. We had Arun Shourie, we had Aruna Roy, we had Kiran Bedi, we had Arvind Kejriwal as well, who backed this Raman Magsaysay award. But now let me test your knowledge. Let's get in with a poll. Which of the following statements regarding Raman Magsaysay Award is or are correct? The award is given annually for selfless service to the peoples of the world. The award is bestowed only on the individuals and not on the organizations. Vinoba Bhave was the first Indian to bag this award. The award is given annually for the selfless service to the people of the world. No, this is incorrect. To the peoples of Asia. The award is bestowed only on the individuals and not on the organizations. Bestowed on the organizations as well. Vinoba Bhave was the first Indian to bag this award. This is correct. So only statement 1 is correct. A is the right answer. Let's look at another topic, adoption rules in India. The year was 2015 when a law was passed known as Juvenile Justice Act. Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act, the year was 2015. The principal objective of this law was to ensure and allow that boys in the age group of 16 to 18 who have indulged in heinous crimes, they can also be tried as adults. The year was 2015. Juvenile Justice Act was passed. The principal objective of this law was to ensure that those children or those boys who are in the age group of 16 to 18, if they commit heinous crimes, they can be tried as an adult. Because prior to this law, if you are a juvenile, less than the age of 18, no matter what crime you would commit, the maximum punishment that could be awarded to you was 3 years. That too, not in a regular jail, but in a reform home. This was one objective of this law. The another objective of this law was that it somehow centralized the adoption system in this country. CARA, an organization known as Central Adoption Resource Authority, this authority was made the nodal agency for all adoptions in India, whether it is in-country adoption or whether it is inter-country adoption. That means if you want to adopt children within India or you want to adopt children for outside of this territory, for both these purposes, CARA was created as a nodal agency. But CARA was not created in 2015, it was created earlier. But in the year 2015, it was made a nodal agency so that the entire adoption process in this country is centralized. And according to CARA rules, there are 3 sets of children who are considered for adoption. Number 1, those children who are orphaned. 2, those children who have been abandoned. Those children who have been surrendered as well. There are 3 categories of children who are up for adoption in India. 1, who are orphans, and those are under any specialized agency. In a sense, those are taken care of by NGOs. Orphans, they are up for adoption. Those children who have been abandoned. This was also in the news recently when a couple, 22-year-old couple, both boy and a girl were 22-year-old. They were in a live-in relationship. a child was born and then they abandoned this child. So abandoned children, orphan children, and surrendered children, those children, for example, there is a family and the family has many children, and this family cannot take care of these children for whatever reasons. The family is poor, the family does not have the resources. This family or the parents can surrender the child. So these are the three categories of children who are up for adoption. And in India, we prefer in-country adoption. Children should be adopted by Indians. The last option, the last resort is inter-country adoptions. But it is this law, Juvenile Justice Act, which was amended in the year 2022. What was the amendment? The amendment was that if there is a child who is to be adopted, the decision will be taken by courts. That means if you want to adopt a child, you approach a child welfare committee and you have to adopt a child. To legalize this adoption, you have to approach the court. And if you approach the court gives the order, the adoption becomes legal. But in the year 2022, this adoption rules in India were modified. Now the power to give this adoption order is not with the courts, it is with the district magistrate. Or it is with additional district magistrate. Adoption rules in India, Juvenile Justice Act 2015, which made CARA the nodal agency for inter-country adoptions, for intra-country adoptions as well. According to the CARA rules, there are three categories of children who are up for adoption. Those orphans, those who have been abandoned, those who have been surrendered. We prefer in-country adoption. The last resort is inter-country adoption. Clear? This Juvenile Justice Act of 2015 was amended in the year 2022. What did the amendment say? The amendment said that instead of the court, the adoption order will now be given by district magistrate and additional district magistrate. You may be asked in your prelims examination why this change was made. Why this power was taken from the courts and given to a district magistrate or additional district magistrate. The government says there are two reasons for that. Reason number one, the speedy disposal of cases. And reason number two, to fix accountability. That means the cases, they linger on in courts, the justice is delayed, the adoption orders is delayed, and at the same time, we are giving this power to the district magistrate or the additional district magistrate to give the adoption order so as to fix accountability. Because after all, these bureaucrats are appointed by the government. So government is accountable to the public. So these officers are also accountable to the public. Judges are not accountable to anybody. That's why these rules were made. But at the same time, what will happen to these cases which were already in the courts? The government says, according to these rules, those cases will be transferred to the offices of the district magistrate and the additional district magistrate. That's the context. Now, when this is the context, let's take a poll. Consider the following statements. No child shall be given in adoption to a couple unless they have at least 5 years of stable marital relationship. Two couples with 3 or more children shall not be considered for adoption under any circumstance. Which of the above statements is or are correct? "25 seconds to go." this is where you might have been confused, because there is a law known as surrogacy law. Which couple is eligible for surrogacy? Which couple is eligible for surrogacy? A couple who has been in a marital relationship for 5 years. 5 years of marriage, if you are unable to bear a child, then you are eligible to opt for surrogacy. But for adoption, child can be given in adoption if a couple has been in a stable marital relationship for 2 years, not 5 years. This is where you don't have to confuse yourself with the surrogacy laws. So statement number 1 is incorrect. Couples with 3 or more children shall not be considered for adoption under any circumstance. Adoption rules say that children can be given in adoption to a couple who has less than 3 children. That means basically 2 children maximum. But there can be possibility where a relative is going for adoption. Adoption can be because of step parent, or adoption can be because the parents have special needs children. What does that mean? There is a couple, they have 3 children, which means basically they are not eligible to adopt a child. But one such child that they have is a special needs child. Clear? So the rules say you can adopt a child. Another scenario, there is a couple, let's say a relative, uncle, someone else, they already have 3 children, 3 or more children, but then their sister or their brother dies, and now who will adopt these children? Instead of giving these children to somebody who does not know them, to an ignorant individual, let's adopt them. So a relative can adopt these children, otherwise they would have to go to someone who is unknown, or there can be a step parent. There is an individual who marries a woman, the woman already has children, this man already has 3 children, you can still adopt these children. That means even if you have 3 or more children, you can adopt if you are adopting your step daughters or stepsons. So when the statement says couple with 3 or more children shall not be considered for adoption under any circumstance, that means this statement is wrong, because these are the circumstances where even if you have 3 or more children, you can still adopt a child. Clear? Let's take a look at another question. And let's start a poll. Special needs children, for example, a children is handicapped with disability. Somebody suffering from Down syndrome, somebody suffering from mental illness. So basically the children is with special needs. Students are responding, 30 seconds to go. Central Adoption Resource Authority, CARA, is a statutory body which is under Ministry of Women and Child Development, yes, and it functions as the nodal body for adoption of Indian children. And this is something that we have discussed. It is correct. Statement number 2. CARA is mandated to monitor and regulate only the in-country adoptions, while the inter-country adoptions are monitored jointly by the Ministry of External Affairs and Home Affairs. This statement is wrong, because CARA takes care, is the nodal agency for both types of adoptions, in-country as well as inter-country. So statement 2 is incorrect. India is yet to ratify the Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoption. This statement is wrong. Because in the year 2003, 2002, this convention was adopted. This convention was ratified by India. And what is this Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoption? Can be asked in your prelims examination. The purpose is that there should be some safeguards. That means Hague Convention basically follows two principles. Principle number one, there should be safeguards that transnational adoption, basically, which means inter-country adoption, adoption of children from India to another country. This transnational adoption should only take place if it is in the best interest of children. If it is in the best interest of this child that he or she should be adopted and then sent outside of the country, only then this child should be adopted. Clear? And all those countries who are part of this convention, they have to ensure cooperation so that these safeguards are adhered to, these safeguards are respected. These are the two principles on which Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoption rests. One is, we have to ensure that transnational adoption of a child should take place only and only if it is in the best interest of a child. And all those countries who are part of this convention, who have ratified this Hague Convention, they have to ensure that these safeguards are respected. So the statement 3 is incorrect because India has ratified this convention in the year 2003. Only statement 1 is correct. So A is the right answer. Great. Now let's look at another topic, EGOT. And what is the context? Barack Obama is now half an EGOT. EGOT is basically an acronym which stands for Emmy Awards, Grammy Awards, Oscar, Tony Awards. Now, in your prelims examination, you may be asked, match the following. So, Emmy Awards is given in TV industry. Grammy Awards is given in music and recording industry. Oscar, you would know, is given in American and international film industry. And the Tony Award is given in theater. Or to make it more clear, live Broadway theater. Now, what is the context? Have you heard of Career Grand Slam? Have you heard of this? Career Grand Slam means, for example, in tennis, if an individual tennis player wins all the 4 important tennis tournaments in one calendar year, that means you have earned a Career Grand Slam. In which are these 4 tennis tournaments? For example, Wimbledon, US Open, French Open, Australian Open. A player who wins all these 4 tennis tournaments in a single year, we call it a Career Grand Slam. Then there is a Golden Career Grand Slam as well, where you win all these 4 tournaments and at the same time you win the Olympic gold in the same year. The year was 1988 when Steffi Graf, my favorite tennis player, she bagged the Career Grand Slam, Golden Career Grand Slam, because she won all the 4 important tennis tournaments, Australian Open, French Open, US Open, Wimbledon, and at the same time she won the Olympic gold medal. Similarly, in art forms, there is something called EGOT, which stands for an individual who wins all the 4 awards, and that is what we call Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. Barack Obama is now half an EGOT because he has bagged Emmy as well as Grammy. And there are 17 individuals, only 17 individuals in the entire world who are EGOTs. Now, you may not need to know why Barack Obama and for what Barack Obama won these awards, but very briefly, Emmy Award because Barack Obama did a narration of a Netflix documentary. That is why he bagged the Emmy Award. He has bagged Grammy previously because when he wrote his memoirs, he also gave the audio narration, the audio rule book of those memoirs. So recording of those memoirs. For that, he bagged the Grammy. Now what he needs an Oscar and a Tony Award, and he can also be an EGOT. And there has been 17 individuals in this world who have bagged EGOT. That means an acronym for Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. But in prelims examination, you may be asked, match the following. Somebody would say, sir, what is a live Broadway? Live Broadway means a theater, live theater, but the number of seats in the theater should be more than 500. That's what we call live Broadway. Just an additional information for you. Now let's look at another topic, Places of Worship Act 1991, which is in the news recently. Now what is the context? There was a dispute on a piece of land in Ayodhya. It was basically 2.77 acres of land which was under dispute. Why? On this piece of land, Babri Masjid stood, which some people say was constructed by Mir Baqi on the orders of the Mughal Emperor Babur, way back in 1528. But the point is, the allegation was that this Babri Masjid was constructed by demolishing a Ram temple, which was at Ayodhya, because Ayodhya is the birthplace of Lord Ram. Series of litigations, petitions, riots as well. But then in the 1990s, a massive yatra was launched by the BJP led by L.K. Advani. And that was the start of the Ram Janma Bhoomi movement, where basically the demand was that we should construct a mega Ram temple at the disputed site in Ayodhya. So on one side, there was this Ram Janma Bhoomi movement which was gaining pace in this country. And on the other side, Places of Worship Act 1991 was passed by the parliament. P.V. Narasimha Rao was the prime minister. What was the objective of this law? The objective of this law was to prohibit conversion of a place of worship. Not only to prohibit the conversion of a place of worship, but also to maintain the place of worship, maintain the standard of the place of worship. The purpose was that this place of worship cannot be changed from one sect to another. What does that mean? 1991, the law was passed. What was this law all about? That all the places of worship, their character should not change. And their character will remain what it was on 15th of August 1947 when India gained independence. That means if there is a place of worship which was a mosque on 15th of August 1947, it cannot be converted into a temple because of this act of 1991. That means there is a limitation. And you not only are prohibited from converting the place of worship, there is also a regulation where you have to maintain the character of this place. That means if it was a mosque in 1947, it will remain the mosque in 2022 as well. That was this law. And this cannot be changed from one sect to another. For example, there is one dargah which is of Shia Muslims. It cannot be converted to the dargah of a Sunni Muslim, which means not just converting this religious place to the religious place of another religion, but within that religion, if it belongs to one sect, it will remain part of that sect. That is what Places of Worship Act 1991 talked about. But then there were exceptions. some places were kept out of Places of Worship Act 1991. One was Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid dispute. Why? Because since this case was already in the court, that is why this area was excluded. That means Places of Worship Act will not apply to Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid. Second, those places of worship which are ancient, historical monuments, or those under Archaeological Survey of India. That means there were some places of worship which were kept out of the Places of Worship Act 1991. One was Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid. The second are those places of worship which are of ancient historical significance under Archaeological Survey of India. This is the law. But then came the controversy. What was the controversy? The controversy was Qutub Minar. In Qutub Minar complex, there is Quwwatul Islam Mosque. A petition was filed by some Hindu organizations that there existed some Ganpati temples as well, Hanuman temples as well, and we need to pray to those temples. That means this Quwwatul Islam Mosque was constructed basically by destroying some temples. But this Qutub Minar complex is an archaeological site, and the Archaeological Survey of India did not give the permission to these individuals to pray. Then came another issue, and the issue was of Gyan Vapi Mosque in Banaras or Varanasi. It is considered that there is this Gyan Vapi Mosque, and then there is the temple in the honor of Lord Shiva, which is there in Varanasi. There was a petition filed in the local court in Uttar Pradesh that we need to worship the temple. And we have to also ensure that this Gyan Vapi Mosque, it was basically constructed by demolishing the Shiva temple. Matter went to the local court. Local court ordered the archaeological survey. Let's conduct an archaeological survey and see whether there was a temple under the Gyan Vapi Mosque. Muslim side argued that this order of the court violates the Places of Worship Act, because if this is Gyan Vapi Mosque, it was a Gyan Vapi Mosque on 15th of August 1947, and this character of Gyan Vapi Mosque cannot be changed after 1947 according to this law. The Muslim side approached the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave a very important order. Supreme Court said Places of Worship Act 1991, it prohibits the conversion of a religious place, and it also ensures that the character of this religious place is maintained. But it does not prohibit ascertaining as to which temple or mosque ultimately was part of that area. In a sense, what Supreme Court said, Places of Worship Act 1991, what it does, it prohibits converting a religious place of worship. But it does not prohibit, can we at least ascertain, can we at least find out what is the history of that place? Can we go for archaeological evidence to decide whether there existed a temple beneath the Gyan Vapi Mosque or not? That's what the Supreme Court said. And now, one day earlier, the local court in Uttar Pradesh in Varanasi has said that there is a claim by some 5 Hindu women. They want to pray at the Shiva temple in Gyan Vapi Mosque complex. And this plea, this petition of these 5 Hindu women is maintainable. That means we can see whether there existed a temple under the Gyan Vapi Masjid or not. This is the controversy. The point is, such disputes keep on happening. The year was 2019, when a landmark judgment was given by the Supreme Court in Ayodhya case, where all the 5 judges of the Supreme Court who were hearing this case said this place, Ram Janmabhoomi, is basically belonging to the Lord Ram. That means Lord Ram is the owner of that place. That is why a mega Ram temple is being constructed at the then disputed site at Ayodhya. But when this judgment was given by the Supreme Court in 2019, Supreme Court said Places of Worship Act 1991 lays the secular ideology of India. Historical wrongs cannot be corrected in the courts of law. Something may have happened in the past, but we cannot undo the wrongs of the past by approaching the court today. Something may have happened 500 years ago, 1000 years ago, but you cannot approach the court now and ask to undo the wrongs of history. As civil services aspirants, you should also understand the truth. And what is the truth? In Ayodhya case, it may have been a matter of dispute as to whether Babri Masjid was constructed by demolishing the Ram temple. We may agree, we may disagree whether a temple existed at the disputed site in Ayodhya. But there is no dispute, absolutely no dispute, that there was destruction of temple, not only in Varanasi, but also in Mathura, where a Krishna temple was demolished for Shahi Eidgah. That means there is a dispute, another dispute, Shahi Eidgah and Krishna temple in Mathura. There is a dispute, Gyanvapi Masjid and the Shiva temple in Varanasi. Historical records say, history says, documented history says, that on the orders of the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, the temples were demolished for the construction of mosques in Mathura as well as in Varanasi. So there is no historical misunderstanding. It's correct. Temples were destroyed for the construction of mosque, for the construction of a religious place of a different denomination. But then what should we do? For that, we need some sort of a dialogue. These cases should not go to the court, because when these cases reach the court, there is one winner, there is one loser. There should be out-of-court settlement where both sides are the winners. For the sake, for the interest, in the interest of communal harmony in this country, there should be an out-of-court settlement to resolve these disputes. Otherwise, we will keep on simmering this pot of communal violence. That's number one. Number two, when this law was passed in the year 1991, the Muslims objected to this law. Why? Because this law exempted Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid dispute, that area. Now the same Muslim side is approaching the Supreme Court that you have to uphold the Places of Worship Act 1991. But this is just a law passed by the parliament. It can also be repealed as well. When it is repealed, that means we have no law which prohibits the conversion of any place of worship, because the law is passed by the parliament and the same parliament has the right to repeal that law as well. So such disputes should not be left to judiciary, should be left to inter-community dialogue, reconciliation, and that's how these disputes can be resolved. Clear? Let's look at the question. Let's take a poll. Take the answer. Consider the following statements regarding the Places of Worship Act 1991. The Act prohibits only the conversion of any place of worship as it existed on the 15th of August 1947. It does not only prohibit the conversion, it also ensures that the religious character of the place is maintained. That means this act, as I said, not only prohibits the conversion of a religious place, but it also provides for the maintenance of that character. That means that character will have to be maintained. That's why statement 1 is incorrect. The act does not specify the quantum of punishment for those who violate the law. In fact, the act does talk about that there is a 3 years punishment for those who violate the law. So statement 2 is incorrect. The act excludes only the Ram Janmabhoomi Babri Masjid dispute. This is incorrect because the act also excludes what? Ancient historical monuments under the Archaeological Survey of India. So which of the above statements are correct? D, none of the above is the right answer. Very good. And I just saw that the number of students who were there at the start of this class, this number has not fallen. This number is still the same, which means your competition is very high. Everybody is working hard. So you'll have to work hard as well. Now let's look at another topic, Commonwealth. The Queen of Britain passed away recently, and now King Charles is now the king. Not only the king of United Kingdom, but also the head of Commonwealth. This Commonwealth becomes a topic for your examination. Let's look at some of the important details regarding Commonwealth. Commonwealth is a group of 56 countries, and majority of these countries are former British colonies. The biggest imperial power or colonizer of our times has been the Britain. Britain was the colonizer of the majority of Asia, majority of the Africa, as well as the Australian continent as well. But then the year was 1926. Balfour Declaration. Over a period of time, Britain was also giving self-rule to some of these colonies. For example, if you recall, when the movement was started by Annie Besant and Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, what were they asking for? They were asking for home rule. That means they were not asking for complete independence. When Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lokmanya said, Swaraj is my birthright and I must have it, he was not talking of complete independence. He was talking of self-rule. He was talking about a dominion status, so that we can make laws for the people of this country on our own. That means people of this country will make laws for the people of this country, but we will owe our allegiance to the British Crown. The British Crown will have the authority over us. The year was 1926. A declaration was made, Balfour Declaration in 1926, where Britain said that me, which is Britain, and other dominions who had the self-rule, they are equal. And that is what led to British Commonwealth of Nations. What is this Commonwealth? As I said, Britain was the biggest colonizer of Asia, Africa, Australia, and all these colonies, all these countries were basically the wealth of Britain. That means it is the Commonwealth of Britain. But over a period of time, Britain was giving self-rule, dominion status to some of these colonies. 1926, Balfour Declaration, Britain and their dominions. They said we are now equal. But we will still owe our allegiance to the Queen, to the King, to the Crown of Britain, but we will make laws for our own country. And it was then decided that let's create a British Commonwealth of Nations. All those British colonies which were under the dominion, under the control of Britain, will now be part of an organization known as British Commonwealth of Nations. That's how it started. But then the year was 1949. India got independence in 1947. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said that we should also continue to be part of British Commonwealth of Nations, but we also want to be a republic. What do we mean by a republic? the head of the state is elected. So we want to be a republic. That means our head of the state, who is the president of India, will be an elected individual. So how can we be part of Commonwealth? Because in Commonwealth, you have to owe your allegiance to the Queen. Pandit Nehru said, but we still want to continue to be part of Commonwealth, but at the same time, we want to be a republic. We will not owe our allegiance to the Queen, because the head of the state will not be the Queen of England. Head of the state will be the President of India, who will be elected by the people of this country. And it was because of the diplomacy of Pandit Nehru that in 1949, this British Commonwealth of Nations, its name got changed to that of Commonwealth. That means it is not now British Commonwealth of Nations, it is a Commonwealth. But at the same time, 56 countries, look at the word that I've used, majority of these 56 countries have been the British colonies. But does that mean those countries which have never been British colony, they cannot be part of Commonwealth? They can be. That's why this becomes important. The year was 2022, this year. That's why current affairs, very important. Two territories, Gabon and Togo, they became part of Commonwealth. But Gabon and Togo, they were not the British colonies. They were French colonies previously. That means Commonwealth, which was set up in 1926 under Balfour Declaration and set up as British Commonwealth of Nations. In 1949, its name was changed to that of a Commonwealth. Now, any country which swears by democracy, that means only democratic countries can be part of Commonwealth, not the monarchies. All those countries, whether you were British colony or not, doesn't matter. All countries who swear by democracy, if they want to be part of Commonwealth, they can be part of Commonwealth. And that's how in 2022, Gabon and Togo, the former French colonies, became part of Commonwealth. Let's look at the question. Consider the following statements regarding the Commonwealth. The British king or queen is automatically the head of the Commonwealth. Now, you would have witnessed in the newspapers that King Charles is now the head of the Commonwealth. Does that mean the British king or the queen automatically becomes head of the Commonwealth? No. Why? Because the head of the Commonwealth is chosen by the members together, not necessarily the king or the queen of the Britain. That's one statement. Only the former British colonies are part of the Commonwealth? No. Even any country who swears by democracy can be part of the Commonwealth. No country has formally been expelled from the Commonwealth. This statement is correct. So there is a mistake in the options. You can make it. That's why I didn't start the poll. Only 3. D, no country has been formally expelled from the Commonwealth. D, only 3 is the right answer. There have been countries who have been suspended. For example, Fiji was suspended. Nigeria was suspended. Pakistan was suspended twice. Zimbabwe was suspended. And Zimbabwe withdrew from Commonwealth in the year 2003. So although formally no country has been expelled from the Commonwealth, but there are some countries who have been suspended. Because when, let's say, when Pervez Musharraf, the military chief of Pakistan, he imposed martial law in Pakistan in 1999 after deposing the Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. So he imposed martial law. He became the dictator of Pakistan. So since democracy was suspended in 1999, Commonwealth suspended Pakistan. So Pakistan has been suspended twice. Fiji, Nigeria, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe exited Commonwealth in 2003, but no country has been formally expelled from the Commonwealth. Statement 3 is correct. Only 3 is the right answer. Okay. Now let's look at another important organization, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO. Prime Minister Modi, according to newspaper reports, is traveling to Uzbekistan. And in all likelihood, he is going to meet the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. In all likelihood, he may meet the president of Chinese Republic, China, Xi Jinping as well. That's one relevant news. And at the same time, according to newspaper reports, Iran may become the member of SCO. And if Iran becomes a member of the SCO at a time when United States withdrew from the Iranian nuclear deal, when Iran is becoming very close to Russia as well as China, and both Russia as well as China, they are part of SCO. That is why this topic becomes very, very important. It's a very important topic, and trust me, this question will be asked either in prelims or mains because it has a relevance for mains exam as well. But let's look at it from the prelims perspective. The year was 1996. Shanghai 5 was established. Shanghai 5. Who are these 5 countries? Russia, China, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan. These 5 countries in 1996 started Shanghai 5. But why? You would know that at the same time, in 1996, there was a civil war in Afghanistan. Because in 1989, USSR withdrew from Afghanistan. Then for 6 long years, there was a civil war in Afghanistan. Various tribes in Afghanistan, whether it is the Tajiks, Pashtuns, Uzbeks, Hazaras, they started fighting amongst themselves so as to establish control over Afghanistan. So there was a civil war in Afghanistan. And there were 2 big threats coming from Afghanistan. One threat was of terrorism. The other threat was of drug trafficking. Drugs being trafficked from Afghanistan, because even when Afghanistan was under the control of Taliban from 1996 to 2001, one of the biggest revenue generating occupation or business in Afghanistan was the drugs, the poppy cultivation in Afghanistan. But be that as it may, when there was a civil war going on in Afghanistan, the countries in the neighborhood of Afghanistan, these 5 countries, they decided to come together, establish Shanghai 5. Why? To cooperate with each other so that we can tackle the menace coming from Afghanistan, which is the drug trafficking and the religious extremism. The year was 2001. With these 5 countries, Uzbekistan joined. Uzbekistan said, and these countries then said, why should we restrict ourselves to cooperation on terrorism and drug trafficking? Why can't we extend this cooperation to various political issues, to various economic issues, so that we strengthen ourselves economically, we help each other economically, politically? And that is how SCO was formed. That means Shanghai 5, and with the introduction of Uzbekistan to Shanghai 5, this Shanghai 5 became SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And this SCO entered into force in 2003. And then the year was 2017. India, and Pakistan, they also became the members of SCO. So right now we have 8 members of SCO. Very important. This is how the questions have been asked in the UPSC. Which of the following is not a member of ASEAN? That was the question asked few years ago. Which of the following countries are not part of SCO? That can be asked in your examination. But at the same time, you also need to understand that there are some 4 dialogue partners, or in a sense 4 not members, but those who are supporting SCO, who want to become the members, basically associate members, some kind of. Who are these 4 countries? You can remember them by using this acronym BIMA. How can you remember this acronym? China is engaging in debt trap. What is debt trap? China or Chinese financial institutions, they give loans to poorer countries, smaller countries. And when these loans, which are unsustainable loans, when these loans are not being repaid by the countries, then what China does, takes over the vital installations from these countries. Maybe ports, maybe airports. That's debt trap. How can you defend yourself against this debt? If you have an insurance. Insurance in Hindi is known as Bima. So if China is part of this, China is a threat. How can you save yourself if you have an insurance, which is Bima? And Bima stands for Belarus, Iran, Mongolia, and Afghanistan. And now, according to newspaper reports, Iran may be the 9th member of SCO. And every year, there is a meeting of the heads of states. Every year, there is a meeting of the heads of the state of SCO. And this year, it's going to take place in Uzbekistan. That is the context. Now, let's look at the question and let's start a poll. SCO is also considered to be one of the largest regional grouping, because in terms of look at the countries, India, China, Russia, the population is huge. They contribute, all these 8 countries contribute close to 40% of the global GDP. Anjul, Zaid, Anand, Shubham, Om, Anshu, they are the top performers. Congratulations, good thing. Both India and Pakistan became the members of the SCO in the same year, correct? SCO is an observer in the United Nations General Assembly since 2005. Since 2005, SCO as an organization has been given the observer status at the United Nations General Assembly. So this statement is also correct. Fact, SCO is governed by heads of State Council, its supreme decision-making body, which meets twice a year, which meets once a year. And sometimes you should also apply logic. If it's a heads of the state meeting, same organization, you can't expect the same heads of states to meet twice. That's some sort of a logic, common sense that you have to apply. Which of the above statements is or are correct? B, only 1 and 2 is the right answer. Now let's look at the 7th topic, banning conversion therapy. So what is a conversion therapy? It targets LGBTQIA community. The question in the prelims can be, conversion therapy recently seen in the news is related to A, B, C, D. So you need to understand what is this conversion therapy that is in the news. It targets LGBTQ community. Now, what is this acronym? Lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgenders, queers, intersex, asexual, this community. And through this conversion therapy, The idea is, unfortunately, even today, some people, some organizations, some countries consider homosexuality is some sort of a disorder. And when it is a disorder, that means it needs to be cured. How can we cure this disorder? Through drugs, psychotropic substances, through electric shocks. So the idea is that we have to convert these homosexuals into so-called normal people, because these homosexuals, they are suffering from a disorder, and if we have to cure that disorder, that means we have to convert these abnormal people to normal people. For that, we have this conversion therapy, which through use of psychotropic substances, through the use of electric shocks and other treatments, you are basically trying to convert homosexuals into so-called normal people. 2021, there was a case filed in the Madras High Court in Tamil Nadu. Two women who were in the same relationship, consensual relationship, they sought police protection. Why? Please save us, because our families are forcing us to undergo conversion therapy. Matter went to the Madras High Court. Madras High Court issued an order. Madras High Court said that National Medical Commission, you have to issue an order that any doctor who performs or recommends conversion therapy is basically guilty of professional misconduct. And last week, National Medical Commission issued an order to all state medical commissions that if any doctor is prescribing or recommending conversion therapy, it is liable for professional misconduct. Take action against those doctors. That is the context. That is the news article relevant for this prelims examination. Conversion therapy, it is basically a practice targeting the members of LGBTQ community, so that through psychotropic substances, through drugs, through electric shocks, through other means, you are trying to convert so-called abnormal people into so-called normal people. Because according to them, homosexuality is a perversion. Homosexuality is a disorder, and we have to cure that disorder. And now the courts, as well as National Medical Commission, has said that if any doctor is prescribing or recommending conversion therapy, that individual, that doctor has committed professional misconduct, and we will take action against those doctors. That's topic number 7. Any questions as of now? No issues, no question. All clear. Q&A stands for queer, asexual. Who is the head of the Commonwealth? Decided by the members of the Commonwealth. Right now, it is the King of United Kingdom. SMC means State Medical Commission. NMC means National Medical Commission. Great. Now let's look at question number 8, or topic number 8, F-16. Falcon 16. These are basically single engine multi-role fighter aircraft. Single engine, multi-role fighter aircraft. Multi-role means in a combat situation, these fighter jets can be used for multiple purposes, multiple roles. The role can be air-to-air combat. The role can be aerial bombing. The role can be anything. So multiple roles are performed by this F-16, Falcon 16. Manufacturer is Lockheed Martin. So it's basically a US fighter jet. And there are some prominent customers of F-16. India is not a customer of F-16, so we don't have F-16s. And we will discuss this important thing. Countries such as Israel, countries such as Pakistan, countries such as Egypt, countries such as Turkey, they are the customers of F-16. Clear? F-16 has performed very well for Pakistan. For example, if you remember 2019, when the Balakot strikes were conducted by India, when the fighter jets crossed the line of actual control, hit the terror camps in Balakot in Pakistan. The very next day, there was an aerial dogfight between F-16 of Pakistan, which they got from United States, and the MiG fighter planes, which we have got from the Russia. In fact, one wing commander, Abhinandan Vardhan, he also participated in that dogfight. Ultimately, his MiG was shot down by the Pakistani Air Force, and he was also captured. But then after staying there for close to 60 hours, he was released by Pakistan. Although India claimed that one of the F-16 jets had been shot down of Pakistan, but then it was dismissed by Pakistan, and also a survey was conducted by United States, when in United States numbered or did the numbering of all the F-16s that they have given to Pakistan, and they found that no F-16 is missing. But be that as it may, F-16 has played a very important role. It's one of the most popular and most effective multi-role single-engine fighter jet. Now the point is, the year was 2018. The then President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, what he did, he suspended the $2 billion aid, or what is known as the security aid, to Pakistan. Pakistan is a sweet talker. So throughout the history of its origin in 1947, it has tried its best to be closer to United States of America. But at the same time, Pakistan is being misusing the US support for its own needs. In fact, Pakistan harbors terrorists which are used against India, which are used against the US interests as well. But Pakistan was always supported by United States. Why? Because Pakistani support was needed in Afghanistan. So in 1980s, when Taliban group and Al-Qaeda and other jihadi organizations fought against USSR, because it was the period of Cold War. When the Second World War was over, the world became bipolar. That means prior to the Second World War, Britain was considered to be the superpower. After the Second World War, the world became bipolar. Two superpowers emerged, USSR and the United States. And then the rivalry, the animosity between these two countries was fierce. So it was argued that if not today, tomorrow there will be a nuclear war between USSR and United States. That period is known as Cold War. So United States, it was their foreign policy to somehow get in touch with those countries who can dismember USSR, to support those countries who can fight against USSR. And that is how, according to experts, according to writers, according to observers, United States supported Pakistan. Pakistan supported the jihadis in Afghanistan, and they launched a jihad or the holy war against the Soviet Union, against USSR. And in fact, it is argued that CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States, they supported Afghanistani jihadis through weapons, through money, and other deals. In fact, according to some, even Al-Qaeda was supported by CIA. But be that as it may, United States has been using Pakistan to ensure that there is some strategic depth in Afghanistan, so that in Afghanistan, we can have some sort of control. And when these jihadis defeated USSR, ultimately afterwards, it led to the collapse of USSR. Recently, Mikhail Gorbachev, who was the last ruler, who was the last head of the Soviet Union, he passed away. And it was under his watch that the Cold War ended, the Berlin Wall collapsed, East and West Germany became one, and Soviet Union also dismembered, so on and so forth. So this topic becomes important, interesting. But the point here is, United States was giving military aid to Pakistan. Why? So that through these dollars, Pakistan will keep a check on Taliban. Pakistan will keep a check on the terrorist elements in Afghanistan. Because in the year 2001, Afghanistan was attacked by United States. And then United States and NATO army remained in Afghanistan for many years. And last year, they withdrew from United States. They withdrew from Afghanistan. But in 2018, the then President Donald Trump suspended this $2 billion security aid to Pakistan. Why? Because his allegation was that Pakistan is not helping us in our fight against Taliban, nor is Pakistan controlling the Haqqani Network. Haqqani Network, another terrorist organization, whose leader is today an important minister in Afghanistan government. This security aid was suspended, and in fact, this money was not given to upgrade F-16s. That means not only was this $2 billion security aid suspended for Pakistan, in fact, spare parts were not given for these F-16s. And it was argued now that the fighter jets, F-16s that Pakistan has, they don't have an advantage over India because they are not able to streamline them. They're not able to support them. They're not able to repair them because the security aid from United States has stopped. In fact, the spare parts of these F-16s are not given by the United States. That is why Indian Air Force will have an advantage over Pakistani Air Force. But then something happened recently. The head of Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, was killed in an attack in Afghanistan. And it is argued by various experts that Pakistan gave an important tip-off to United States, which led to the killing of Ayman al-Zawahiri. And it is this cooperation that Pakistan cooperated with United States to kill Ayman al-Zawahiri. Now, what the Joe Biden government has done, it has given some $518 million aid to Pakistan so that you can upgrade your F-16s, so that you can repair your F-16s. And now the defense experts in India are worried that now Pakistan has an edge over India when it comes to Air Force. Because there is another issue. The issue is, if I can add one slide. The issue is Make in India. Prime Minister Modi's pet program to ensure that we give more support to the manufacturing industry in India. According to this Make in India program, if a foreign company if we have to buy something from the foreign company, let's say if there is a defense purchase, let's say we want to buy a fighter jet, we want to buy a helicopter, we want to buy a twin engine helicopter or an aircraft from a foreign company, 30 to 60% of the components should be locally manufactured. According to Make in India program, if India wants to buy a defense product, which can be a fighter aircraft, India can buy this defense product from a foreign company, but the foreign company has to ensure that components which are used to manufacture this fighter jet, 30 to 60% should be locally manufactured. That is why the foreign companies, they are not coming to India and investing in India. In fact, even the private players are reluctant to invest in the defense manufacturing in India. And there was a report released by Bloomberg, a news agency, a news organization website. Bloomberg said that by the year 2026, India will have the acute shortage of helicopters. And by the year 2030, India will have the acute shortage of fighter jets. And we see the problem with our MiG aircrafts. They are crashing. So we have less advantage over Pakistan when it comes to the air control or the air defense. And with F-16s being refurbished and supported by the aid, by the security aid coming from United States, that is why India has to be very watchful. That is why India has India has some sort of lodged protest with United States, asking United States for the reasons why you are supporting Pakistan to fuel their air control, their air support, which can be detrimental for India as well. That is why this F-16 topic becomes very important. Now let's start a poll. You tell me what is the right answer. Anjul, Om, Samasti, Wiki. Right. What is the answer? F-16, the country of origin is United States. On one hand, we have these fighter jets. MiG-29 is another fighter jet. Russia. Rafale from France. Saab JAS-39 Gripen, it's from Sweden. The options D, all the four are correctly matched. That's the right answer. Now let's look at another topic, Kartavya Path. A 3-kilometer stretch from Rashtrapati Bhavan to India Gate. This was known as Rajpath. And now what Mr. Modi has done is asked that this name be changed so that it becomes Kartavya Path, which basically means duty. Kartavya means duty. How do you rename such things? For that, the decision is not taken by the center. The decision is taken by the Delhi municipality. So the municipal council, which controls this area, they issued an order at their meeting, and they allowed for the renaming of this 3-kilometer stretch from Rashtrapati Bhavan to India Gate, which was previously known as Rajpath, is now renamed as Kartavya Path. But what all details you need to know from this topic? Let's discuss all of them one by one. This Kartavya Path is part of Central Vista Redevelopment Program. You may be asked, what is this Central Vista Redevelopment Program as well? What all is included in that? What all is included? Number one, North Block and South Block will now become, which is part of this Central Vista Redevelopment Program, will become publicly accessible museums. What is North Block? North Block houses it's basically part of the Secretariat. North Block houses the important offices of the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of Finance. South Block currently consists of the Prime Minister's office, the office of the Ministry of External Affairs as well. So this North Block and South Block is to be converted into publicly accessible museums according to Central Vista Redevelopment Program. Then where will the Central Secretariat go? A Central Secretariat is to be created. That means, what is this Central Vista Redevelopment Program? One, this Kartavya Path is part of the Central Vista Redevelopment Program. It has been refurbished, made more beautiful, plush lawns, gardens on the other side. But that's one. Second, there is North Block, which houses Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Defense. And then there is South Block, which houses Prime Minister's office, which houses External Affairs Ministry. This North Block and South Block will be converted into museum, which can be accessed by the public. Now we will create one Central Secretariat where all the houses, where all the offices will be located. One Central Secretariat. Another part of the Central Vista Redevelopment Program is to set up the office and the residence of Prime Minister as well as the Vice President of India. But what is the history behind this Kartavya Path or Rajpath? This is where modern history comes into picture. The year was 1876. In 1876, what was the capital of India? Calcutta. But in 1876, Queen Victoria, please listen to me carefully. These are very important details. That is why when questions are asked in modern history, students are often confused as to where did this question come from. There is a relevance of current affairs. So stay with me for some more time. We have half an hour. Stay with me for half an hour. We'll discuss some important things. Queen Victoria was proclaimed as Kaisar-e-Hind, which is known as the Empress of India. And to proclaim this, to announce this to the people of this country, that Queen Victoria is now the Kaisar-e-Hind or the Empress of India, for that a darbar was established. Darbar was conducted in 1877. And where was it conducted? It was conducted in Delhi. But if the capital was Calcutta, the darbar, the Delhi Darbar of 1877, to proclaim Queen Victoria as the Empress of Hindustan or the Kaisar-e-Hind, was proclaimed in Delhi. Why Delhi? Because it was still in the imagination of the Britain that Delhi is still the center of India. Because it was this area which is widely believed to be Indraprasth. which was established during Mahabharata by the Pandavas. And this was Delhi, which was also the capital during Delhi Sultanate. This was the Delhi which was the capital during the Mughals as well. In fact, in 1857, when a massive revolt broke out in the northern and central part of India, which nearly swept away the British rule, when in Barakpur or in other areas, the sepoys, they rebelled, where did they go? As if, that's what is mentioned in your book, as if drawn by the magnet, they forced themselves towards Delhi, and they forced a very reluctant Bahadur Shah Zafar to become the emperor of India, or to become the leader of this revolt of 1857, as if drawn by the magnet. That means still in the popular imagination of people, Delhi is the capital of India. So what? The capital was in Calcutta. Delhi is still under the imagination of the people as the capital of India. And that is why this Delhi Darbar, this proclamation that Queen Victoria is now the Empress of India, this Delhi Darbar was conducted, held in Delhi and not in Calcutta. How many Delhi Darbars have been held? 3. Another one in 1903. Another one in 1911. Why was it held? Because coronation of different kings took place. Queen Victoria became the Empress of India. This proclamation was done in 1877. King Edward is now the president of, is now the Emperor of India. This proclamation was done in 1903. King George V is now the Emperor of India, was proclaimed in 1911. But now look at me carefully. It was in 1911 that the capital of India was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi. And King George V, what he did, he issued a proclamation and he said, we will establish a new city, a new capital. So to establish a new city, Delhi was to be redeveloped. And that is where architects such as Lutyens were roped in to redevelop this capital, Delhi. And 2 roads were established. So various offices were established, for example, Viceroy, the Parliament building, Viceroy's office, which is now the Rashtrapati Bhavan. One road was Kingsway Road. At the intersection of this Kingsway Road, there was a Queensway Road as well. This Kingsway Road, it is the same 3-kilometer stretch from Rashtrapati Bhavan to India Gate. It was known as Kingsway Road during the British rule. But when India gained independence, this Kingsway Road became Rajpath. And this Queensway Road became Janpath. People's Road or the Ruler's Road. Although Rajpath, it basically is the literal interpretation or literal translation of Kingsway Road, but it carries much significance. Significance in the sense that then government said, although we are a democracy now, it will be the duty of the state, the democratic state, to take care of the rights of the people. That is why some people criticize the renaming of Rajpath to Kartavyapath, saying it does not erase the colonial legacy, because the colonial legacy was erased way back in 1950 when this Kingsway Road was renamed as Rajpath. There is another criticism which says that by renaming this road as Kartavyapath, it basically means you want to emphasize more on duties and not rights. That's why some people criticize, saying by renaming Rajpath, which was not a colonial name because this was the name given in the 1950. By renaming Rajpath as Kartavya Path, you are basically emphasizing more on duties. And in fact, these duties were originally not part of the constitution. These were added to the constitution during emergency when Indira Gandhi was the prime minister. So they criticize this. But then there is another segment which praise and welcome this development, saying Rajpath considered some sort of a rule. It should not be the rule, it should be the duty. So that is why it is Kartavya Path rather than Rajpath. But one more important fact for your examination, when this Kingsway Road or when this central vista in Delhi was developed by Lutyens, who was the Governor General of India at that time? Can anybody name? Lord Hardinge. So there were these architects, Edward Baker, Edward Lutyens, Herbert Baker. These were the architects who were called to develop the central vista. And now there is a redevelopment program going on that becomes important for your examination. Yes, Lord Hardinge is the right answer. Yes, a bomb was thrown upon him during the procession, which did not kill Lord Hardinge. Okay. Now let's look at the last topic for today's discussion, PM Shri. What is PM Shri? Pradhan Mantri Schools for Rising India. We had to discuss a treaty between India and Bangladesh, the water treaty, but that the teacher said we will discuss in mains-based current affairs because we have to discuss mains-related aspect of India-Bangladesh relationship. So there, that river treaty will be discussed. Teesta will be discussed. So for the sake of ensuring that your time is not lost, we will discuss that in mains-based current affairs and not today. PM Shri, which means Pradhan Mantri, SH stands for Schools for Rising India. What is this program? This is a centrally sponsored scheme Now, my question to you is, what is the difference between a centrally sponsored scheme and a central sector scheme? Can anybody tell me in the comment section what is the difference between the two? Centrally sponsored scheme and central sector scheme. Very good. A central sector scheme is 100% funded by the center. But when it comes to a centrally sponsored scheme, it is in the ratio of, mostly in the ratio of 60 to 40. That means 60% funds will be given by the center, 40% funds will be given by the states, will be allocated by the states. But for northeastern states, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory, basically those special category states, the ratio for the centrally sponsored scheme is 90:10. That means 90% of the funds will be allocated by the center, 10% will have to be generated by the states on their own. So what is this PM Shri? It is basically for 5 years, 2022-23, 2026-27. It's going to be a centrally sponsored scheme where 60% funds will be provided by the center, 40% funds will be provided by the states. And what is the objective? The objective is to transform close to 14,000 schools, transform them as model schools to achieve the objectives of the new national education policy. Centrally sponsored scheme. The target is we will convert, transform close to 14,000 schools in different parts of the country as model schools so that we achieve the objective of new national education policy. Now, what is a model school? Let's say you call somebody a model student or an ideal student. Who is this ideal student? Wakes up early in the morning, breakfast, starts reading, obeys the parents, obeys the teachers as well, always attentive in the class, never misses the class, attendance is good, performance is good. So, what do we call that student? Good in sports as well, good in extracurricular activities as well, good in co curricular activities as well. What do we call the student? An ideal student or a model student, like a role model for the all of us. We have thousands of schools in this country. The idea of PM Shri is to transform 14,000 plus schools as model schools so that they become role models for others. Now, what is this model school? Model school can be that these schools will be supported by ICT, information and communication technology. These will have smart classes, model school. There are education will be supported in mother tongue and local languages. Counseling centers, because we should not only provide for education, children, they would also need counseling. So counseling centers will also be provided. Special benefits or special provisions will be made for girls with special needs. These should be green schools. That means, let's say, use solar power to illuminate these schools so as to ensure that these schools are environment friendly as well. Long story short, the idea, the purpose of PM Shri is to convert 14,000 schools in India and transform them as model schools so that we achieve the objective of new national education policy. And you would know, I have to add another slide. This new national education policy is focusing on four things. One is foundational, the other is preparatory, the other is middle, the other is secondary. Our national education policy, whether it is of 1980s or 2000s, it never focused on foundational learning. This is the first time that a national education policy talks about foundational learning. And what is this foundational learning? Preschool, grades 1 to 2. That means prior to school, in kindergarten level or from grades 1 and 2, we will focus on playway methods. Don't teach much to the students. In a playway method, ensure that they are learning the concepts. Build their curiosity through playway method. That is the focus of national education policy. So our schools, which we are transforming, should have this provision, should have this feasibility, practicality, and infrastructure to support foundational learning. Preparatory, grades 3 to 5. middle grade 6 to 8, secondary grade 9 to 12. And in the preparatory stage, we'll have to ensure, according to new national education policy, less books are prescribed. And in the middle, from classes 6 to 8, subject teachers are introduced. That means teachers who can teach specific subjects. It should not be one teacher teaching science, maths, English as well. Subject-related teachers. And in secondary level, the focus should be on multidisciplinarity. Teaching multiple disciplines, different subjects. That is the focus of the national education policy. So PM Shri, which stands for Pradhan Mantri Schools for Rising India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is a centrally sponsored scheme. Now the question is, for what period? 2022-23 till 2026-27. And under this program, the objective is to transform 14,000 plus schools so as to achieve the objectives of new national education policy. And what are these new objectives of national education policy? The target of new national education policy is to focus on 4 different groups: foundational learning, preparatory learning, middle class, and the secondary learning. And the focus of foundational learning will be on playway methods. The focus on preparatory school will be less textbooks will be prescribed. So that even here, the focus is on some way of a playway method. And it is in the middle school that we will ensure that subject teachers are prescribed. And in secondary school, class 9 to 12, the focus will be on multidisciplinarity. And all these schools that we are going to transform must support these initiatives. That is why any school which will have these kind of facilities will be known as a model school. Does that mean, how do we select these schools? One important criteria to select these schools is that these schools can be Kendriya Vidyalayas, these schools can be state schools, these schools can be municipality schools as well. States will have to recommend schools. Which will come under this PM Shri. But for that, these states will have to sign a memorandum of understanding with the center. And what is this memorandum of understanding? That we shall implement new national education policy, which means maybe Tamil Nadu schools will not be part of it, because the Tamil Nadu government is adamant that we will not implement the new national education policy. So how do we select these 14,000 odd schools? These schools can be Kendriya Vidyalayas, these can be state schools, these can be municipality schools, but the states will have to recommend these schools. And then there will be, let's say, evaluation whether these schools have the infrastructure so that they become part of PM Shri. But the states can recommend schools under PM Shri only if they sign memorandum of understanding with the central government that we shall implement the new national education policy. That is PM Shri. And now let's look at a question. What is the answer? NEP stands for National Education Policy. Again, Anjul, Om, Samasti, Zaid, good job. PM Shri is a centrally sponsored scheme which aims, that is why please read the question carefully, read the statement carefully. Most often what happens, the student read a statement, read a question, and then assume that it is right or wrong. Read it carefully. PM Shri is a centrally sponsored scheme which aims to transform all the government schools into model schools to achieve the objective of the new national education policy. Not all, 14,000 odd schools. Statement 1 is incorrect here. Let me know how many made this mistake by marking statement 1 correct. The entire cost of the scheme shall be borne by the central government. No, because it's a centrally sponsored scheme where the contribution is in the ratio of 60 to 40. Which of the above statements are correct? D, none is the right answer. That is all for tonight. If you have liked this lecture, in a sense, these facts, concepts were important. These were important, that's why we are discussing. But if you liked this lecture, please let us know as well. I made the mistake. Who is he? Rahul. Please tell BIMA once more. BIMA stands for Belarus, Iran, Mongolia, Afghanistan. These are not 4 full-fledged members of SCO. Sneha, not a single answer I got correct today. That is why you should keep attending these sessions. Ishita, my doubt is unresolved. What's your doubt, please? Couldn't find handout. That's why we discussed right at the start that there have been few changes to these weekly webinars. Instead of providing the handouts, we provide the annotated PPTs. Do you teach polity in BHLP? Yes, my dear, I do. Okay, thank you so much for being part of this session. Have a safe time. Take care. Stay safe. Good night. Bye-bye. All the best.